All right, what's up, guys? It's the second half of today's podcast, Monday, June 17th, 2024, MMAOB Daily Podcast. I am your host, as always, Adam Martin, and I'm joined by my co-host here, Mr. Big Marcel. And we're going to be previewing a very good card, I would say. I did take a few hits this past week. UFC, Saudi Arabia, we did lose a couple fights. But overall, Marcel, I think this card's pretty strong. UFC's first card in Saudi Arabia, so they had to stack the deck. And overall, I think it's a very good card. So just get your overall quick thoughts, Marcel, on UFC Saudi Arabia before we get into it, man. What do you think about this one?
Yes, I think it's a pretty good card. I mean, what else can you say? It's there are some good names on it. Name value is good on this card. It's not like there are a lot of fights that are probably some clear favorites, but I'm not even comfortable with some of these to pick. I mean, for example, we have a free survivor pool, right? In the James Lynch on his Discord, and I had to first pick this week, and I wasn't even sure who to pick. As weird as it sounds. So
yeah, I know. There's like a lot of closer fights. I would say less mismatches, which is good. A couple comments here before we get into the preview. Clint says there's 1,000 tickets left at about $80. That's cheap. Like I would easily go to that. Yeah, maybe they'll sell it this week though. I don't know. Vicker wins. He's already accomplished scoring UFC the Hamzat in 4 years. I mean, this would be the biggest win of his career, obviously, and would be bigger than any of Khamzat's wins. But at this point, I don't know if you could say that. If he does win, though, yes, I agree with that, Blake, which is crazy because it might end up being that Ikram becomes the guy that we thought Khamzat was the whole time because Khamzat just can't stay healthy, unfortunately. He's always sick. He's always injured. It's really sad because Khamzat is one of the most talented guys in the UFC, but I mean, he's just not able to get to a lot of his fights, so it's too bad. All right, Marcel, I say we just get into it, guys. We'll start with the first fight, work our way up. And Marcel, like you mentioned in the other chat, said Dricus Dumas versus Dennis Foulin's off, so we lost the fight, although Muhammad Naimov versus Felipe Lima was added. All right, first fight on the card. We're using UFCstats.com. We work our way up from the bottom every time. First fight on the card is I think a really tough fight to pick. It's the road to UFC final between Xiao Long and ChangHo Lee. And the odds for this one, Marcel, I think it's a pick'em. It's close to a pick'em. Let me double check. Yeah, minus 120 Xiao Long, plus 100 ChangHo Lee. So very close fight. Tough to pick. You have any thoughts on this, man?
Not at all, to be really honest, man.
Yeah.
What should I say? I really haven't followed Road to UFC, to be honest, because it's a really inconvenient time for me. Plus, it's like really after an event, not 9 out of 10 times,
Right.
So I could give you a pick, but it's just like completely guessing for me. Yeah, so you can maybe better give the people a pick.
It's a tough one to pick. I mean, regardless of how much tape study you do on this one, I think it's tough because there's just these guys, they do have some experience, but it's not against like the highest level guys. Now, we did see Xiao Long on Contender Series. He fought Christian Quinones.
Yeah.
He didn't look very good, though. He lost. And Quinones is not that great. So, I mean, it's not a great look. And then since then, on Contender, road to UFC, 2 decision wins, majority and split decision. Like, not super impressive. Also, getting taken down a lot. I don't know, not too impressive. And then ChangHo Lee, he has been finishing his fights, but not against the highest level guys. I don't know, man. I would not bet on. I don't recommend betting on this fight, guys. I mean, again, there's actually only 10 fights in this card, so we lost a few fights. UFC Stats actually did take off the Dumas fight now, so it's gone. And they took it off the list. So that's definitely canceled. I'll go ChangHo Lee plus 100. And the only reason I'm picking it is because Xiao has a lot of experience, but not the greatest record. We did see him Contender, and I don't think he looked that good. So maybe he's made a few strides since then, but I don't know, man. A guy who's barely edging by his fights versus a guy who's knocking people out. I'll go with the guy who's knocking people out. But again, I'm shrugging my shoulder because I really don't know. I don't know for sure.
I wrote it down who I picked.
Who'd you put? You took Lee, really?
Yeah.
You took before I said it, or?
Yeah, I already I wrote it down before you said it. So.
All right, so we have a consensus dog to start the night plus 100.
Let's go.
The confidence level is like 0%. I have no clue. I really have no clue. What's up, Jamie? Glad to have you here, man. What's up, Antoine? Glad to have you here, man. Yeah, it sucks. Scams got sick. Card fell apart. It did, but there's still some good fights, especially the co-main event, and the main event's good too. All right, next fight here, guys. Again, the Dumas fight's off, so the next fight we have Magomed Gadzhiyasulov versus Brendson Ribeiro, and the odds for this one have Gadzhiyasulov minus 340, Ribeiro plus 270. Yeah, I mean, I can't pick Ribeiro. I don't really trust the guy. He's got some power, obviously. We saw that in Contender, but the chin is really bad. It's a bad looking, knocked out by Zhang Minyang, although I did take him in that fight. Then in not Contender, in the regional scene, he's been knocked out a bunch too. The Magomed guy is not really necessarily a knockout artist, but he does have some decent wrestling. We saw in Contender. He's undefeated. He's from the region. It seems like the UFC wants him to win this fight. I don't know how impressive it's going to be. I think he might just grind out a win, but if he's going to get a knockout, it's over a guy like Ribeiro who has a bad chin. So I'll take Magomed. I think he gets the win. You don't want to go against the guys with the last name OV. You don't like picking against those guys. So he's a huge favorite. I think he's the biggest favorite in the card. Him and Rinat are the biggest favorites, minus 340 each. I think he wins. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, don't pick against a guy with OV in his name. That's why you always pick Dmitry Smolyakov to win.
What's his name? Like the lifeguard or something?
Yeah, the lifeguard. Yeah. It was.
I remember that guy. Fuck Francis.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Gadzhiyasulov, with his non-finishing ability in the Contender Series, he got Jose Medina a contract in the UFC, Yeah. So, Brendson Ribeiro didn't look good in his debut. Yeah, he looked good in the beginning, in the first minute, but he got knocked out clean by Zhang Minyang. Good pick by you, because you picked Zhang Minyang in that fight.
Yeah.
I'm also going with Gadzhiyasulov. He's I think he's a Dagestani who is representing Bahrain. He's going to win this fight, man. It's pretty clear that they want him to win as well. I think making this matchup, nothing against Ribeiro, but Gadzhiyasulov, and I'm going with the TKO in the second round here.
Yeah. Question for Antoine. Crazy, this is the first Saudi Arabia card. How do you guys feel about that? I love it. I think it's great. It's a great market for fights right now. Tons of money. It's not the best card, unfortunately, at the end because they lost some fights, but I think it's still solid. And I mean, I'm excited about it. I know you are too, Marcel.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm pretty much happy with almost every card was outside the Apex these days. You know what I mean? Although they have to stack them a little bit like they did with this one. It's a fun card, and I'm happy that they're going to new territories.
Neither of these guys being UFC opponents are really low level. I mean, it's hard to disagree necessarily with that too. All right, let's go to the next fight here. We got Muin Gafarov taking on Kyung Kang. Up to this one have Gafarov minus 155, Kang plus 130. I'll start off on this one, Marcel. I'm going to take the underdog here, Kang. I don't think he should be the underdog. I think he should be the favorite to win this fight. Kang has had far more success in the UFC. He's been in the UFC for over 10 years. He's one of the most underrated guys in the division, in my opinion. Never gets talked about at all. Consistently wins his fights. He's got a great record in the UFC. 8-4-1 no contest. Very solid record. He's fought some pretty good competition along the way. Managed to keep a job for this long says something, I believe. He's a grinder. He can wrestle. He can strike a bit. I know he's coming off the loss to Castaneda, but I think John Castaneda is pretty good. I know he lost his last fight, but he's actually not a bad fighter. Gafarov also lost to Castaneda, by the way. He's actually 0-2 in the UFC, and he lost his Contender Series fight. So really hasn't lived up to the hype at all in Zuffa whatsoever. He has fought some good competition. Obviously, Saeed Nurmagomedov is really good. Castaneda is good. Chad Allen Hellinger, though, I mean, that was a fight he was supposed to win, and he lost. So that's a rough look. He also is a guy that I think gets a little bit tired as fights go on too. So I think this is going to be a competitive fight, Marcel, but I do think the odds are wrong. I think that the wrong guy's favored here. I'm going to go with Kang. I think he wins the decision. What do you think, man?
Third fight, second consensus underdog pick here. I'm also with Kyung Kang. I don't understand why he's an underdog in this fight, to be honest. I think he proved way more so far than Muin Gafarov. Gafarov, don't get me wrong, he's a pretty solid fighter, but I mean, I don't see anything that I'm like, yes, he's gonna beat Kang. We know Kang is pretty decent on the ground. Gafarov got a quick loss finish against Said Nurmagomedov last time. Before that, he had the short notice fight against Castaneda, which he did pretty well in my opinion. But I feel more comfortable to pick Kang here, so I'm going with Kyung Kang by decision. I have the same pick as you, man.
I think you could sub him too, and Tristan likes Gafarov, I guess, by wrestling, maybe. Yaya's not the greatest loss to have. Yeah, but Yaya, had a long career too in the UFC. He had a long career. That's definitely how he would win the fight though. But I don't know, man. Kang's come through for me as a dog in the past. I can't not pick him here because I do think he should be favored to win. So I have to pick him. By the way, Joe, 10 fights now because we lost Cedricus Dumas. That fight's off, so it's 10 fights now. All right, we'll go to the next fight here. Actually, no, it is 11 fights. My apologies, because they didn't add the other fight, the Felipe Lima fight. So that's my apologies. It is 11 fights. Okay, that's good to know. I don't know if that's going to be main card or not. Do you know, Marcel, if that new fight will be main
They're
card?
probably going to change something on Thursday or Friday again, like they always do. These motherfuckers.
Yeah, so I'll slip that back in wherever.
They're probably not going to put Shara back on the main card, probably against Joilton Lutterbach. So I don't know.
All right, go to the next fight here. We got Rinat Fakhretdinov taking on Nicolas Dalby. And the odds for this one have
crazy odds.
Rinat's a huge favorite, minus 340. Dalby plus 270. Okay, so here's my thoughts on this fight. When it first got announced, I was like, okay, I'm picking Dalby because he's an underrated guy. He come through as a dog a lot. He's a guy that doesn't get a lot of credit, but he's solid everywhere. And he's got great cardio, right? But the more I've been thinking about it, it's like, yeah, Rinat had a really big letdown third round against Lazio, but overall in the UFC, he's looked amazing. And I don't know if I want to pick against him, honestly. I'm not ready to do it yet. So, yes, I do think Dalby's got a chance here, and I wouldn't lay the minus 340 on Rinat, but I have to pick him to win. I do think he's the better fighter. I think he's more just dangerous, and I'm going to have to pick him. But again, the cardio is a concern, especially in the third round. So I can't bet on him here. Can't recommend a bet at minus 340. That's kind of crazy. But I think Rinat is still good, and I can't go against him yet until he actually loses. So I'll take Rinat, Marcel, to get the win. But it's going to be a hard-fought fight, man. It won't be an easy fight. I'll take Rinat by decision in a very, very competitive fight where the value is probably on Dalby as a dog. What do you think?
I think Rinat is the rightful favorite, but I think the odds are way too high. You know what I mean? I think Dalby proved in his last couple of fights that he's a dog, and he can come back in a fight, that you cannot count him out. And Rinat proved in his last fight that his cardio wasn't that top-notch as we all thought, And it can be just that one fight. Don't get me wrong, because in these other fights I didn't really see it. Yeah, that Michailidis fight wasn't amazing, but still, Now I'm also picking Rinat. I think he will win at least 2 rounds, but he has to make sure to have better cardio in the third round. Maybe he can even stop him. I don't think so. Dalby's pretty tough. I'm going with Rinat by decision here.
Yeah, I think so too, Marcel. But again, he's hopefully got that cardio work fixed because, man, if he falls apart in the third round, it's not a good look against Dalby. Yeah. All right, we'll go to the next fight here. We got Nasrat Haqparast taking on Jared Gordon. Haqparast favored minus 238. Jared Gordon plus 195. Yeah, I feel like he should be slightly favored. I do think the odds are maybe a little bit high because Jared's pretty tough, man, and he's got good wrestling, obviously, and his striking is decent too. But at the same time, Haqparast good takedown defense, more volume on the feet, better boxing, I would say too, and also Jared's been knocked out a couple times too. So Haqparast a little bit of momentum now, 3 straight wins. I think he probably wins this fight. I think it's going to be a competitive fight that goes the distance though. I'll take Haqparast by decision. What do you think?
Nasrat is also much younger. He came very early on in the UFC. He had at a certain moment kind of a bad streak. I remember with Drew Dober and Dan Hooker and Bobby Green. He pretty much lost to the guys who were ranked or like borderline top 15. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I feel like he's doing better now, although he didn't look really good against Landon Quinones. I remember that. That was a short notice fight. He won that fight. But he did look great against Jamie Mullarkey last time where he knocked him out. Gordon, really solid dude, He's like a guy who has been pretty forgotten about by a lot of people, I think, because he's the kind of guy who I really like to see fight, and I think he's really good, but he doesn't jump out. You know what I mean? If he's on the card, Jared Gordon's on the card, you see him fight, but nobody will probably talk about it because he doesn't have I like him a lot, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have that personality that pops out. You know what I mean? But he's a very solid fighter, so it's going to be a fun fight. Slightly favoring Nasrat Haqparast in this fight, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if Gordon wins this fight because I think it's a close fight. I think both guys are really good, are really solid. I think it will be a really competitive fight. I'm picking Haqparast by decision here, but I think it will be a fun one.
I agree with your breakdown. Tristan says, do you think Gordon can hold him down? Maybe. The only guys really did it, or I guess 2 guys, Dan Hooker and Marcin Held. That's really the only 2 guys. Mm-hmm. It's possible, though, if he does pursue that wrestling game plan. But, again, 78% takedown defense is pretty good. And, he's still young and improving. Marcel made a great point with the age. I mean, I kind of forget that he's only 28, right? He's still young, and he's had a ton of fights. So I think he gets to get the job done. But, yeah. Let's go to the next fight here. Shara Bullet, Magomedov taking on Joilton Lutterbach. Odds for this one have Shara Bullet minus 245, Lutterbach plus 200. I like Shara Bullet in this fight, Marcel. I think he looks really good in this fight. I know Lutterbach's got like 50 fights. He has tons of experience. He's pretty durable for the most part, but I think Shara Bullet's just, next level, man. I actually think he'll finish this fight. I think he's going to look good in this fight. It's a great spot. I think it's opening the main card, I believe, and I think it's a great spot for him to shine in the second UFC fight. So Shara Bullet by knockout. I really like him in this fight. I think minus 245 is more than fair. I think that's a fair price. This guy, I think gets the job done. What do you think?
Yeah, he's actually the featured prelim right now. So I don't know.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, with the fight changing with Melsik and the Naimov not anymore fighting, and the new change, maybe they put them on the main card. I don't know. Yeah, also picking Shara Bullet here. I gotta say, I'm still not convinced by the guy. I think his striking is pretty fun to watch, but his ground game is almost non-existent. What I saw against Bruno Silva. That said, I think Lutterbach is a guy he should be able to beat, although Lutterbach, he's fought in so many things. I think he fought in Karate Combat, he fought in Glory, he fought everywhere, kind of a guy who fought everywhere around the world in every organization, every discipline, But I'm also Magomedov. I also think he stops him probably by TKO first or second round.
There you go. All right, we'll go to the next fight here. We have Johnny Walker taking on Volkan Oezdemir. Odds for this one are competitive. Minus 120, Johnny Walker, plus 100, Oezdemir. I'll let you start on this one. What do you think?
Yeah, so here's my next underdog pick in this fight. I think, listen, Johnny Walker, he's a fun fighter to watch. He's not convincing to me. He was when he came in the UFC, but after that, he hasn't been convincing to me. I know he finished Uyan Kutelaba by submission. I know he finished Paul Craig, but all the other fights have not been convincing. Volkan Oezdemir is a guy who is like pretty underrated in my opinion. He was kind of overrated in the beginning, but then he lost 2 fights in a row against Yuri Prohaska and against Ankalaev, and people really start to underrate him. He won against Paul Craig was kind of a boring decision, but he won. He lost to Krylov, and the Guskov fight, I underrate him heavily. I picked Guskov in that fight, and I kind of regret that back then because I really underestimated him. I think Oezdemir can win this fight definitely. I think with his takedowns, he can even knock him out. Don't get me wrong, but I think he can take Johnny Walker down and he can out grapple him even, man. Maybe it sounds crazy, but I'm Volkan Oezdemir here all the way. Decision, man.
Dude, I'm with you. I'm picking a dog too. So we have another consensus dog pick. We have 3 of them so far, which is crazy. I like Oezdemir too in this fight, and I think he's kind of underrated. I don't think people talk about him at all. Listen, his chin is definitely a little bit of a sketchy chin. I'll say that, but so is Johnny Walker's, I think, too. So I think they kind of just wash each other out a little bit, and then ground game wise, I think Oezdemir's got the better ground game, Marcel, personally.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he can get the fight to the ground maybe and potentially do some work there like he did against Bogdan, but I think probably it's going to be a stand-up fight, and I kind of think Oezdemir knocks him out. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think the fight goes 3 rounds. I know you said decision. I don't think so. I think the fight ends inside the distance. But, yeah, I mean, they're both experienced guys. It's a fun fight. I like the fight a lot. Makes sense. But I think Oezdemir is going to win. I'm going to take him by knockout. So I'll take a consensus dog there with you, Marcel. We have 3 of them, which is crazy. Let's go to the next fight here. Let's
do some comments maybe first, man.
All right, quickly get some comments. Any safe bets on this card? Not necessarily. I'll have my best bets out for bookies tomorrow, though. Lutterbach did fight DDP. Bircha, would you guys be okay with Alex Pereira versus Jones and Alex wins? Obviously, but Jones is not going to take that fight. Jones will not fight Alex Pereira, I don't think. Oezdemir, good power. I think so, too. The Oezdemir fight for Belly fought Cormier. Yeah. All right, next fight we got. I'll just throw this one in here. Mohamed Naimov against Felipe Silva. So we don't have odds for this fight yet. Just my quick thoughts on it are: I was going to pick Melsik against Naimov.
Felipe Lima.
You're picking him?
Felipe Lima. You said Felipe Silva. I have the same problem.
My bad. Sorry, Felipe Silva used to fight in the UFC. That's a different guy. My apologies. Felipe Lima. Sorry, guys. It's 2 different guys, obviously. And this guy's way better. But what was he saying? Naimov. I was going to pick Melsik against Naimov because I thought stylistically I like that fight for Melsik personally. I don't really know. I mean, we don't have odds for this one. To pick him? Okay, that makes sense. Tough one to pick, man. I mean, Lima's taking on super short notice, but a very, very talented guy. But Naimov is more proven in the UFC. The other thing is Lima's moving up in weight to 145. I guess I would lean Naimov. That would be my lean here. What do you think, man?
Same thing, it's like he's going up a weight class. And this one, he was supposed to fight, I think, Jonas Magard on July 20th, so next month. So he probably wasn't training. I think he's a teammate of Khamzat Chimaev. Fun fighter to watch, but man, it's a tough task, to go short notice against a guy. Got to go to Saudi Arabia to fight this guy who hasn't lost yet in the UFC. I'm also on Naimov. I think he wins the decision, but will be a tough fight, man. But if you want to do a bet, definitely, man. If you can get the dark money on Lima, you should take it. I think.
Here's the odds. It's like basically a pick 'em. I kind of agree with this. I figured it'd be close, but I didn't see them, so I'm glad you told me, Tristan. Thank you. Naima was my slight lean again, just because he had the full camp, he was training for this card, and because of the weight class. All right, we'll go to the next fight here. We have welterweights Kelvin Gastelum and Daniel Rodriguez. Gastelum is minus 250, D-Rod plus 205, and someone did make the comment that him and Haqparast are two different people. We finally know for sure now because they're on the same card. So the UFC matchmakers knew that more, so that's why they threw them on the same card here. I'm taking Kelvin Gastelum. Regardless of how inconsistent he is, I still think he's the better fighter here. D-Rod's 37 now. He's not really fighting that often anymore. He only fought once in the last year at this point, coming off 2 straight losses. I really liked D-Rod for a while. I just think he's kind of fallen off a little bit as he's gotten older. And Kelvin, he is coming off that loss to Sean Brady, but I don't think it says a lot about him. He did beat Chris Curtis, though, and he competitive against Karen and near competitive with Robert Whittaker. And now he's going back to welterweight, which I think is actually his last fight was a welterweight too. But I just think this is the right weight class for him. After all those fights at middleweight, I think he wins a decision. I think it's a competitive fight that he wins a decision. What do you think?
So you guys go with Fahrenheit. Over here they go with Celsius. I go with Kelvin. Kelvin's going to win, man. I think Kelvin is the better fighter overall. I think he will win this game and he wins the decision. I'm pretty much with you there, man. With Kelvin, yeah.
What's up, Zach? Pissing hot. Didn't he get off on that? I can't remember for sure. I thought he got off on it. Anyways, let's go to the next fight here. We got co-main event, Sergey Pavlovich taking on Alexander Volkov, Drago. And odds for this one, Pavlovich is minus 238, Volkov plus 195. Well, I'll just say this. I already saw your pick in the Survivor pool, Marcel. You took Pavlovich with the first overall pick, so I know you're picking him to win here. I'm going with the dog. I'm taking Volkov. So we have a different pick finally. Nice. I think this is our first different pick. I think so.
It is.
First one? Okay, so yeah, I'm glad we do. Listen, Pavlovich has crazy knockout power. He's a beast. But I think Volkov's the better overall fighter, man. I really do. I think he's got better cardio if this fight goes past first round. I think, he's got the better ground game. And I think he knocks Pavlovich out later in the fight. I think he's going to survive and knock him out. He did get knocked out by, Derek Lewis late in that fight. But overall, he's shown a pretty good chin in the UFC, Volkov. And he's gotten better over the years, too. I really think he's improved a lot, too, man. I think Volkov's fighting at the best of his career right now. I think he's looking amazing. Pavlovich is great, too. Don't get me wrong. So much power, crazy power. But I think Volkov's going to come on strong here in the later rounds and knock out Pavlovich in second or third round. So that's my pick. We have a different pick, but I like the dog money here, plus 195. What do you think?
I'm fully with you if it goes past the second round, but I think Pavlovich touches him in the first round. So that's
possible.
What I think.
It's obviously possible. So.
Yeah, that's my guess here. If that doesn't happen, and he takes him into deep waters, of course Volkov will be favored in that one. But Pavlovich for me, first round knockout, clean, bomb, within 3 minutes, done.
It's obviously possible. All right, over 1.5. What's up, Winston? You like over 1.5? Yeah, and that's the other thing too. I did hear about them. They've trained together. They're friends, so that's something to keep in mind. But it's such a big spot for both guys that I think they're going to go to battle. I think someone gets finished. We'll see, though. All right, we'll go to the main event here, guys. We have Robert Whittaker taking on Ikram Aliskerov. This is the new main event. Whittaker is favored. He is minus 142. Aliskerov plus 120. I'm taking Rob Whittaker. A lot of people are on Aliskerov here, and the guy's talented as heck, obviously. But to me, he's still very unproven. I'm not ready to write off Robert Whittaker. And quite frankly, I was going to pick Whittaker against Khamzat. I liked Whittaker as a dog in that fight too. I thought Whittaker could knock Khamzat out if the fight went extended and went longer. Whittaker's so proven to me. This is a 5-round fight. Aliskerov, I don't think it's gone that. I don't think he's gone 5 rounds. I can go double check that. I don't think he has though.
No, 3 rounds, not 5.
Yeah, I mean the level of competition is night and day. Whittaker is, the other thing was the age kind of surprised me. Like, they're only 2 years age gap. It's not like it's 10 years. It's only 2 years. Ikram's really good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the guy's very talented. I would have picked him to destroy the Tricoli guy. I think a rematch with Khamzat's interesting too. But for me, I can't go against Rob Whittaker, man. I still think he's one of the best in the world at 185, and I'm picking him to win. What do you think, man?
Feel the same way, and I'm a massive Robert Whittaker fan. I've always been, I like the guy a lot. I think his fights are always entertaining, and he's an absolute classic outside the cage as well, so I'm always really high on Robert Whittaker. All respect to Aliskerov taking this fight on short notice, really big step up in competition. I still think it's possible that he can finish Robert Whittaker, but the longer the fight goes, I favor Whittaker, and I just cannot pick against Whittaker here, although I see the upside for Aliskerov that he can win this fight, but I'm going Whittaker. I think he wins the fight by decision or a late finish. That's my opinion.
There you go. Okay, guys, so here's a couple of comments. What was Khamzat's illness? What was it? Do you know?
No.
Bet Whittaker, minus 135, Ikram long travel, weight cut. That's the other thing, the weight cut. He was cutting weight last week. Whittaker versus Stevie shows a good finish. Possibly, yeah. I hope it's not that guy. What was I going to say? Yeah, just to recap the card, we had 3 consensus dogs on this card. We had ChangHo Lee, although we're not super confident by any means. Kyung Kang, we're a little bit more confident. And then Volkan, we both liked him as well. I also took Volkov as a dog. So I have 4 dogs in this card. I think that's the only pick we got different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. I like when I agree with you, though, on the dogs. I think our dog record
gets more confidence, right?
It does. It gets me excited. I'll just say that. All right, guys, quickly, we're going to go PFL really quick, Marcel. I don't want to talk about too much. I don't really care about it. We didn't recap the last one. I forgot to do that when we had Alex here. Alex's fault for making me distracted. No, but I mean, we both said it last week. We're like, all these favorites are going to win. All of them except for one won. It was just Litton Vassal somehow won that fight.
Always the same thing.
Yeah. And just to answer your question, Antoine, I liked Rob against Khamzat. Did you like Rob or Khamzat in that fight? Marcel? Rob versus Khamzat. Who were you going to pick? Do you remember?
I was still on the fence, but I probably would have went with Robert.
I was picking Robert too. All right, let's quickly go to PFL, and I don't want to spend long on this. I'm just going to read off the names of the fights, and again, it's PFL, so most of these favorites are going to be winning. Clay Collar versus Mads Burnell, taking Clay Collar. Do you?
Yeah.
Impa Kasanganay versus Jacob Neto, I'm taking Impa. You?
Yeah.
Patricky Pitbull versus Bruno Miranda. What about that one?
Patricky Pitbull.
Yeah, I think Miranda can win that one. I'll take the dog in that one, I guess. Actually, no. Miranda's favorite. He's actually his favorite. Mine's 130. Rob Wilkinson versus Josh Silveira. I'll take Wilkinson.
Yeah.
Dodge Alvechin Yajimartov, tough name to pronounce, versus Simon Biong. I'll take the Russian. Or he's not Russian, actually, is he? What country is he from again? He's not Russian.
Turkmenistan.
Yeah, that's it. My apologies.
Yajimartov, yeah.
Tough name to pronounce. Toro Carlos Jr., minus 350 against Polizzi. He's going to win.
Yeah.
Brent Primus versus Solomon Redford. I like Brent Primus there. He's underrated, I think, minus 175. Sadie Bussy, minus 200 against Tom Breeze. I really like Sadie in that fight. I think he wins for sure. Gadji Rabadanov versus Elvin Espinoza. Rabadanov should win. Mikhail Dufort, I think he wins, the Canadian guy. I like him in this fight, Marcel, against Adam Piccolotti. Minus 200 favorite. I think he wins. Mm-hmm. The other Canadian, the genius, Anthony Romero, minus 205. I think he wins too.
Against?
Sergio Casio. I think that's the guy's name. Next fight, Carl Albrechtsen against Andrew Sanchez.
Andrew Sanchez.
He's underdog. Yeah, I was thinking him too. I think he's got a chance too as a dog. But again, I wouldn't bet it. But I think this might be one of the few dogs that wins. And then Brain Zurcher versus Julian Ruiz. Zurcher's minus 600 each to win. So again, most of the favorites should win, guys. It's PFL, and yeah, I mean, like, it's not, you don't have to think about these fights too hard, I don't think. I'll get this last comment here. Espinoza, yeah. You guys think about Dakota Discourse? She's good, but she's fighting like terrible competition, and she's saying that like, oh, I've had really hard fights. It's like, no, you haven't. Like, you really haven't. So.
She got clear favoritism for PFL. I said it all damn time. They matched up Jenna Bishop with Taylor Santos because they both had 6 points, and they matched up Ditcheva with Hackett because Hackett at 0 points. It's just like pathetic. They gave her the first seed. She's now fighting Jenna Bishop, and Liz Carmouche is fighting Tyler Santos, and they want to have the final to have Ditchev against Santos. But I have to see Ditchev to get past Jenna Bishop first,
Yeah, no, I agree.
And Santos got past Carmouche as well,
I agree. Bellator on the same time as UFC. Is there a Bellator card too?
Yeah, on Dublin, yeah.
What the fuck? Okay, well, I guess we'll break down that quickly. All right, let me pull it up. 1 sec. My apologies, guys. I completely forgot.
I think Paul Hughes is on it. The Cage Warriors champ.
Oh, that's right. Okay, let me pull it up quickly. Bellator. Where's Dublin? Okay, Bellator Dublin. Okay. Jason Jackson versus Ramazan Magomedov. Jason Jackson's minus 200. He should win, right?
Yeah,
Ramazan.
Ramazan's pretty good, but I'm picking Jackson as well.
Wasn't he in the UFC for like a minute maybe, and then they caught him or something?
and he won on Dana White Contender Series, and I thought he won, and Dana was like, "Nah, he shouldn't have won that fight."
Paul Hughes is minus 700 against Bobby King. I mean, pretty obvious he should win. Arlene Blencow is minus 130 against Sinead Kavanaugh. I don't know about that one. What do you think of that one?
I mean, if Sinead is fully healthy and she is on her game, she can win against Arlene Blencow. I feel like she should be favored, to be honest.
I think so too, especially in Dublin. Dalton Ross is an underdog against Norbert Novenyi. What do you think about that?
Yeah, the Norbert guy is pretty good, man. I think he's a Hungarian guy, right?
He's was a fighter.
Fun fighter.
You think he wins against Dalton?
It's definitely possible, man. I mean, Dalton didn't look great last time, I remember.
You're off the Dalton bandwagon for sure. Kasum Kasimov versus Mateus Matos. I don't know enough about these guys.
Yeah, same. I would go with Kasumov, right? Yeah.
Some of these other fights, guys, I don't really know the fighters, I'll be honest. I'm not even going to bother. Is there anyone else that you...
No.
Okay. So I don't care enough. I'm sorry. I really don't. Yeah, Novenyi's... I know he's a London shoe fighter guy. I know who he is. I just... Dalton's fought some pretty good guys, although he looked bad against the Canadian guy, Aaron Jeffrey. But anyways, guys, I think that's about it. Is there anything else you want to say, Marcel, quickly before we get here, or are you good to go?
I'm good to go, man. By the way, my headache is kind of over right now, so I'm happy.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Marcel messaged you today that he had a bad headache, so we were kind of not sure if what was going to happen, but Marcel is a trooper and did the podcast, so appreciate you, man, doing it. Yeah, we appreciate you guys talking and being in the chat. We'll be back next, I think Sunday we'll probably do it. We'll do the preview and the recap. I'll talk to you about that, Marcel. We'll figure a time out. I know there's soccer, obviously, but we'll figure a time out. So anyways, have a great week, everyone. Good luck with your bets. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.